Hi friends and new friends. Today we're talking all about Dash marketing, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, the benefits and disadvantages of a decentralized marketing effort, and a beautiful TED Talk by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. All that and more coming up on this episode of Cash Alternative TV. I'm Christopher Carruthers, also known as Tao of Satoshi, and you're watching CATV. So what is Cash Alternative TV? Well, it's a show about crypto with a focus on Dash. We have a couple of running series. One of them is Christopher's Crypto Chronicles, which is kind of a vlog about crypto topics through the week. And the second one is a talk show with Amanda B. Johnson called Tao and Amanda Live. That's every Wednesday at 5 p.m. UTC. So don't forget to subscribe and click the bell if you don't want to miss an episode. Well, with that out of the way, let's get to the meat and potatoes of the episode. Like I said, today we're talking about Dash marketing. Anyone remember the big boom in 2017 when we were sponsoring MMA fighters and we had our message out in airplanes and everything, and Dash core group was going all over the place, Latin America, Europe, everywhere, trying to get Dash recognized? Well, those were the heydays, but the bear market's taken a toll on the Dash core group, and it's not their fault that they can't do as much with marketing as they could before. But they're still trying, they're getting the message out there. But the message might need a little bit of tweaking, and that's where, if you follow me this episode, you'll see why. So with the bear market, it falls more on the community to tackle marketing issues. And with that, it becomes quite of a problem because not everyone has the same idea about Dash. Not everyone has the same identity for Dash. What you believe about Dash might be different from what I believe, and we might have slightly different ways of promoting it. So that leads me to this TED Talk by Simon Sinek from 2009 called Start With Why. So in this, he really comes up with some great points, and it's really changed my perspective on marketing and how Dash could be improving its message in the space. We really could become leaders if we take this message to heart. So today we're going to go through Simon's talk, and on the right-hand side, I'm going to point out how this applies to Dash. Let's begin. So off the top of the talk, Simon talks about a concept called the golden circle.
And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out.
So if Apple was the same as any other company, how would they communicate?
If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that.
Well, we all know that Apple is a very innovative company, and they also have a very innovative communication strategy. So listen to what Apple's message would actually be, and then let me know the difference.
Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one?
Yeah, you can see Apple starts with the why. So why does this work? Why does this serve to hook people into your message? Well, it turns out it's actually a scientific reason.
Here's the best part. None of what I'm telling you is my opinion. It's all grounded in the tenets of biology, not psychology, biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain looking from the top down, what you see is the human brain is actually broken into three major components that correlate perfectly with the golden circle. Our newest brain, our Homo sapien brain, our neocortex, corresponds with the what level. The neocortex is responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle two sections make up our limbic brains, and our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, when we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. You know, sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and your figures and they say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right. Because the part of the brain that controls decision making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart or you're leading with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, those aren't other body parts controlling your behavior. It's all happening here in your limbic brain, the part of the brain that controls decision making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal and want to be a part of what it is that you do? Again, the goal is not just to sell people who need what you have. The goal is to sell to people who believe what you believe.
This video is really eye-opening. Like communities and organizations and companies worldwide should really pay attention to this message. Dash in particular should take this message and run with it, because we have a very strong why message, one of the strongest that I've ever seen, and I believe that we would be very successful with it. So we need to push this why message to attract other like-minded individuals to our cause.
The goal is not just to hire people who need a job. It's to hire people who believe what you believe. If you hire people just because they can do a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they work for you with blood and sweat and tears.
So here's a famous example of this effect in action.
Most people don't know about Samuel Pierpont Langley. And back in the early 20th century, the pursuit of powered man flight was like the dot-com of the day. Everybody was trying it. And Samuel Pierpont Langley had what we assume to be the recipe for success. I mean, even now you ask people, why did your product or why did your company fail? And people always give you the same permutation of the same three things. Undercapitalized, the wrong people, bad market conditions. It's always the same three things. So let's explore that. Samuel Pierpont Langley was given $50,000 by the War Department to figure out this flying machine. Money was no problem. He held a seat at Harvard and worked at the Smithsonian and was extremely well connected. He knew all the big minds of the day. He hired the best minds money could find, and the market conditions were fantastic. The New York Times followed him around everywhere, and everyone was rooting for Langley. And how come we've never heard of Samuel Pierpont Langley? A few hundred miles away in Dayton, Ohio, Orville and Wilbur Wright. They had none of what we consider to be the recipe for success. They had no money. They paid for their dream with the proceeds from their bicycle shop. Not a single person on the Wright brothers' team had a college education, not even Orville or Wilbur. And the New York Times followed them around nowhere. The difference was Orville and Wilbur were driven by a cause, by a purpose, by a belief. They believed that if they could figure out this flying machine, it'll change the course of the world. Samuel Pierpont Langley was different. He wanted to be rich and he wanted to be famous. He was in pursuit of the result. He was in pursuit of the riches. And lo and behold, look what happened. The people who believed in the Wright brothers' dream worked with them with blood and sweat and tears. The others just worked for the paycheck. And they tell stories of how every time the Wright brothers went out, they would have to take 5 sets of parts because that's how many times they would crash before they came in for supper. And eventually on December 17th, 1903, the Wright brothers took flight. And no one was there to even experience it. We found out about it a few days later. And further proof that Langley was motivated by the wrong thing, the day the Wright brothers took flight, he quit. He could have said, that's an amazing discovery, guys. Now we'll improve upon your technology. But he didn't. He wasn't first. He didn't get rich. He didn't get famous. So he quit. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And if you talk about what you believe, you will attract those who believe what you believe.
So why is it important to attract people who believe what you believe? Well, it's a very simple reason, as it turns out, and it's one that you already might be familiar with.
Something called the law of diffusion of innovation. And if you don't know the law, you definitely know the terminology. The first 2.5% of our population are our innovators. The next 13.5% of our population are our early adopters. The next 34% are your early majority, your late majority, and your laggards. The only reason these people buy touch-tone phones is because you can't buy rotary phones anymore. We all sit at various places at various times on the scale, but what the law of diffusion of innovation tells us is that if you want mass market success or mass market acceptance of an idea, you cannot have it until you achieve this tipping point between 15 and 18% market penetration, and then the system tips. And I love asking businesses, what's your conversion on new business? And they love to tell you, oh, it's about 10%, proudly. Well, you can trip over 10% of the customers. We all have about 10% who just get it. That's how we describe them, right? That's like that gut feeling, oh, they just get it. The problem is, how do you find the ones that just get it before you're doing business with them versus the ones who don't get it? So it's this here, this little gap, that you have to close, as Geoffrey Moore calls it, crossing the chasm. Because you see, the early majority will not try something until someone else has tried it first. And these guys, the innovators and the early adopters, they're comfortable making those gut decisions. They're more comfortable making those intuitive decisions that are driven by what they believe about the world and not just what product is available. These are the people who stood online for 6 hours to buy an iPhone when they first came out, when you could have just walked into the store the next week and bought one off the shelf. These are the people who spent $40,000 on flat-screen TVs when they first came out, even though the technology was substandard. And by the way, they didn't do it because the technology was so great. They did it for themselves. It's because they wanted to be first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. In fact, people will do the things that prove what they believe. The reason that person bought the iPhone in the first 6 hours, or stood in line for 6 hours, was because of what they believed about the world and how they wanted everybody to see them. They were first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
So right now, Simon's going to talk about a famous failure to get over this hump.
Look at TiVo. From the time TiVo came out about 8 or 9 years ago to this current day, they are the single highest quality product on the market. Hands down, there is no dispute. They were extremely well funded. Market conditions were fantastic. I mean, we use TiVo as a verb. I TiVo stuff on my piece of junk Time Warner DVR all the time. But TiVo is a commercial failure. They've never made money. And when they went IPO, their stock was at about $30 or $40 and then plummeted, and it's never traded above 10. In fact, I don't think it's even traded above 6, except for a couple of little spikes. Because you see, when TiVo launched their product, they told us all what they had. They said, we have a product that pauses live TV, skips commercials, rewinds live TV, and memorizes your viewing habits without you even asking. And the cynical majority said, we don't believe you, we don't need it, we don't like it, you're scaring us. What if they had said, if you're the kind of person who likes to have total control over every aspect of your life, boy, do we have a product for you. It pauses live TV, skips commercials, memorizes your viewing habits, etc., etc. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, and what you do simply serves as the proof of what you believe.
So the message matters. And this next gentleman had a very powerful message. And this is an example of a successful effort to get over this hump.
In the summer of 1963, 250,000 people showed up on the Mall in Washington to hear Dr. King speak. They sent out no invitations, and there was no website to check the date. How do you do that? Well, Dr. King wasn't the only man in America who was a great orator. He wasn't the only man in America who suffered in a pre-civil rights America. In fact, some of his ideas were bad. But he had a gift. He didn't go around telling people what needed to change in America. He went around and told people what he believed. I believe, I believe, I believe, he told people. And people who believed what he believed took his cause and they made it their own, and they told people. And some of those people created structures to get the word out to even more people. And lo and behold, 250,000 people showed up on the right day, on the right time to hear him speak. How many of them showed up for him? 0. They showed up for themselves. It's what they believed about America that got them to travel on a bus for 8 hours to stand in the sun in Washington in the middle of August. It's what they believed. And it wasn't about black versus white. 25% of the audience was white. Dr. King believed that there are 2 types of laws in this world, those that are made by a higher authority and those that are made by man. And not until all the laws that are made by man are consistent with the laws that are made by the higher authority will we live in a just world. It just so happens that the civil rights movement was the perfect thing to help him bring his cause to life. We followed not for him, but for ourselves. And by the way, he gave the I have a dream speech, not the I have a plan speech. Listen to politicians now with their comprehensive 12-point plans. They're not inspiring anybody. Because there are leaders and there are those who lead. Leaders hold a position of power or authority, but those who lead inspire us. Whether they're individuals or organizations, we follow those who lead not because we have to, but because we want to. We follow those who lead not for them, but for ourselves. And it's those who start with why that have the ability to inspire those around them or find others who inspire them. Thank you very much.
Just listening to this guy inspires me, and I hope he inspires you as well, because this is a great message to be giving to people, that Dash is about financial empowerment and bringing financial freedom to people. And this is something that we could be doing on a day-to-day basis. Oh, we're financial freedom fighters, we're bringing financial empowerment to people, and by the way, we're creating a great digital currency as well. Want to know more? Do we want to be leaders, not only for the crypto community, but for humanity in general? Then we really need to push on this why. So I submit our efforts right now are not really geared towards the why, and they're very heavily geared towards the what and the how. Like at the recent Dash open house in Phoenix, it was very dry. It might have been designed that way because it was tilted towards developers. But I feel that Dash missed a very good opportunity to draw people in and inspire people with Dash's technology. But you know, it's not too late. When we move forward, when we release Evolution, we have to really hammer home this point. And this is something that we can all do as a community, not just rely on Dash Core Group. So let's look at our recent tagline efforts. So the first one is basically saying what Dash is. It's digital cash. Dash is a portmanteau of digital and cash. So that was good. It really does explain the what, but it's not very enticing to people. So, and then now Dash Core Group has come up with a new tagline called Your Money, Your Way, which is a little bit better. It does explain the what, and it also partially explains the how. But my idea for a tagline is called Dash is a better money for a better future. And this is something that really grabs people. This is something that says, oh, well, how is Dash going to provide me a better future? Because all the qualities of Dash as a solid money, as a better money, which is its lack of susceptibility to inflation because there's only going to be a certain amount of Dash, which is its liquidity, ease of transfer, like across the street and across the hall and across the world for low fees, which is its permissionless nature. You don't have to ask anybody to use it. And also its accessibility. We're going to be banking the many unbanked out there. So these are all things that Dash does well. It's our how. And this is also is a big part of our why. This is going to create a better future for people. Dash is a better money because of these reasons, and it's going to create a better future. But you know, the tagline says a better money for a better future, but we actually have to be leading with a better future. So I want to read you an example of a future Dash communication that we might have at, like, say, in a commercial or in an open house or something like that. This is the kind of message that I'm envisioning that we should start having for Dash. Because really, we could be like the Apple of the cryptocurrency industry. Our logo kind of looks like an Apple thing, so you know what I mean? It looks really nice, like as you can see from my background. It looks really nice in a mobile phone. And I think we really have an opportunity to run with this. So this is what I'm thinking would be like a message, a typical message that we could give to people based on Simon's talk. So I'd say, at Dash, we believe that the banking status quo has failed us, and the need exists for a better economic solution. We believe that digital currency represents this way forward. In fact, we have refined the digital currency experience to the point where we believe it's ready to take on the legacy system and improve people's lives. You want to know how? And then we can go all over the how, the digital cash, the chain locks, the instant send, all that stuff. But our main message to people has to be more about the why. So you don't need to ask anybody for permission. I don't need to ask anybody permission. I've already started with this tagline. It's been pretty popular on Twitter. But I'm asking you as a community to get behind it and really promote that why message. Because that's the beauty of decentralized, that we don't need to wait for anyone. You know, we don't have to wait for Dash Core Group to do anything. We can all, as a community, be that marketing force. And right now, we really have to be volunteers because the bear market's been brutal to everybody. And if we do it, we have science backing us up. Well, that's it for me today. Don't forget to like this video and leave a comment if you want to say something about the tagline or you think something about Dash marketing and decentralized marketing in general. Glad to have you with me today. Remember, until next time, Dash is a better money for a better future. And that future is getting closer every day. Bye for now.